Hello everyone, this is Meteorologist Nathan Kitchens with convective weather, giving you guys an update on the weather across the country on this Friday evening. We have a very active weather setup. Let's start off by looking at surface temperatures. We have very cold temperatures across the north. You'll notice here across the south central plains we have a very tight temperature gradient, so a large temperature difference between a fairly short distance from north to south. This is what we call a baroclinic zone in meteorology, and you can see we have basically low pressure development here in this region. So this is where we have cyclogenesis taking place. We have this warm air to the south. We have all this cold air to the north, and as we go throughout the day on Saturday, we'll be setting up for the rest for some severe weather across the Mississippi Valley with that warmer and moist air. The Gulf of Mexico is wide open. We're going to send in some warm temperatures. We have the cold air coming down from the north. We'll have a strong cold front that will be moving its way from northwest to southeast across the middle of the country throughout the day on Saturday. So let's take a look now at the temperature anomalies. Again, this is actually, that's for tomorrow. Tonight, right now, temperatures are well below average. We still have that cold air mass in place across the eastern and northeast portion of the U.S., and then we're starting to relax that cold some here in the Great Lakes. But look at this new surge of cold here in the upper Midwest and into Montana and Saskatchewan, Canada, Alberta, Canada. Those areas are dealing with temperatures like 20 to 30 plus degrees below zero. And that cold air is just going to come right on down. With the snowpack in place, that means not as much modifying of that cold air as it heads southward. So it maintains its very, very cold air. Looking at the radar, we have a winter storm in progress this evening. And I'll show you the alerts from the National Weather Service in a second. But a wide swath of snow from west to east, from the Dakotas through the Great Lakes. And this precipitation will continue to expand across the northeastern states this evening. So we'll have a good thump of snow in the northeast, and then we'll have some freezing rain as warm air comes in aloft. We have cold, low-level Arctic air that's going to be tough to completely scour out. Cold air is denser than warm air. You get that warm air right on top, and you get some ice, and that's going to be the case tonight across portions of the areas from Pennsylvania up towards even New York. We'll talk about that here in a second as well, even the Ohio Valley, before the warm air completely wins out. Let's take a look at the alerts. We have, boy, this is a active, very, very active map. First off, we have all the areas in purple here are where we have winter weather advisories. We have this shading here from Ohio down through the Mid-Atlantic, and even the Carolinas, some cold air damming taking place. This will lead to some freezing rain for a time tonight, and that's where we have freezing rain advisories in place. And a winter storm warning across Pittsburgh area here. That's where we're going to see potential for a little bit of snow at first tonight, but then we're going to have enough of a warm layer aloft that we're going to see a period where there's sleet and then freezing rain. And there could be some decent ice accumulations, enough that this will be a potential for some power outages, and obviously travel is going to become extremely difficult, if not impossible. So the bottom line is you want to just stay inside tonight, and as this begins later on this evening and overnight, things will get very, very rough and rocky, that's for sure. A wide swath of snow here where we have the winter storm warnings across the upper Midwest. This stretches from really portions of the Rockies here, the central and northern Rockies. And this goes all the way through the Dakotas, through Minnesota, and the entire state of Wisconsin basically is under this winter storm warning, where really anywhere from 6 to 10 plus inches of snow will be taking place here. And then we have a winter weather advisory here across the central, much of the central plains here. Let's take a look at the snowfall potential here. First off, we're looking at probabilities for at least 4 inches of snow between this evening and tomorrow evening. So between 7 o'clock Eastern tonight through 7 o'clock Eastern Saturday evening. Obviously, the red is where we have the highest probabilities, where there's at least a 70% chance of 4 inches or greater of snowfall. And you can see the area favorite here would be from the Great Lakes region into the northeast as well. And you also see a swath here across Kansas where we're going to see that switch from rain over the snow as a strong cold front comes down later on tonight and into tomorrow. And of course you can see high probabilities of some decent snow accumulations here in the Rockies as well, there in Colorado. Alright, here's snowfall accumulations from the NAM model. And this is factoring in the ratios. You can see, of course, those very, very impressive snow totals here in the Rockies, just west of Colorado there. And you can see the swath of snow here across the upper Midwest, where there's going to be anywhere from 6, 10 plus inches of snowfall. This goes right through Michigan as well. And also decent snow accumulations tonight here in the northeast as well, in the interior northeast here, from upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and even Massachusetts, those areas as well. Even Rhode Island getting in on some of that snowfall as well. All right, it's not just the snow, it's the ice as well. Take a look at the potential icing accumulations. We have some concerns here. Like I mentioned, the National Weather Service did issue a winter storm warning for western Pennsylvania because you throw in a little bit of snowfall, let's say 1 to 2 inches of snow, throw in about a half-inch of ice on top of that, there's going to be some major difficulty for traveling overnight tonight and throughout the day on Saturday. So just keep this in mind. We're going to get some freezing rain issues with the system here in the portions of the mid-Atlantic region here as well, before this eventually turns over the rain across the Carolinas, even Virginia, later on tonight and into Saturday as the warmer air begins to win out. So we have the ice and we have the snowfall with this system. First off, actually I'm going to show you the NAM model as we go throughout the overnight hours tonight. There's that swath of snow that will be expanding. This is using the composite reflectivity, so this looks more overdone than it actually will be on the radar, but you get the general idea where we're going to have the initial swath of snow breaking out tonight there in the eastern and northeast portions of the U.S. And you can see how the warmer air begins to lift northward. We see that switch from snow in Pittsburgh to freezing rain for a good period of time. And if we can scour out that cold air, which we should tomorrow afternoon, we're going to turn a plain rain there in Pittsburgh, and you can see the wintry activity starts to make its way out of the northeast later on tomorrow afternoon. But watch what happens as we go throughout tomorrow night. We have this very strong cold front here in the central United States. We're going to have severe weather breaking out ahead of that front across the Mississippi Valley down here, where the warm and moist air is available. We've got cold air coming in on the backside of the system, a swath of some snowfall here. And then you notice the pink here and the purple, that's where we got the mixing going on with some sleet and freezing rain across portions of anywhere from Ohio, Indiana. This goes all the way down into Texas. Some wintry mix potential before this all comes to an end tomorrow night and Sunday as the cold air really starts to win out. Strong Arctic high coming down as we go throughout the day on Sunday, with the precipitation beginning to push out across the southeast portion of the country. I mentioned severe weather is going to be an aspect of the storm system. Looking at the Storm Prediction Center map, we have a slight risk in place across areas from really much of western and southwest Tennessee, much of Mississippi, northwest Alabama, and this goes into the southeast half of Arkansas and a decent chunk of Louisiana as well as we go throughout the day on Saturday, especially tomorrow evening into the overnight hours. That's when the main time frame will be. Damaging winds will be the biggest threat with this system, as we're going to see a decent squall line coming through, it looks like, later on tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. Looking at the soundings, we'll look at the overall atmospheric environment out of this setup, and you can see this is in central Mississippi where I clicked on. And overall, the environment, we have fairly unidirectional share. There is some turning, though, of the winds, just a little bit of turning here in the low levels, but really not a whole lot of shear going on there. But you can see certainly, or I should say, not a whole lot of helicity, I'm sorry. But you can see certainly the potential will be there for more like a straight line wind setup. And looking at the supercell composite parameter, I'm going to pop that up here real quickly for you. Let me get to the severe weather tab here. Let's show you the supercell composite indice here. An indice we use during severe weather events. And as we go throughout the day Saturday, watch how it starts to ramp up as we go throughout tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. This is a composite parameter that takes into account the effective storm relative helicity, takes into account the most unstable cape, and it also takes into account the effective bulk wind difference. That's how this parameter is formulated. So tomorrow evening, you can see the values do ramp up as we go into tomorrow night, and then you can clearly see when the cold front's passing through as we go throughout tomorrow night into Sunday. Let's look at the surface map showing you the the composite reflectivity to show you the squalling that will be moving through this region tomorrow night. So going throughout the overnight hours tonight, I'm sorry, I went too far ahead. Scattered showers begin to break out tonight and into the day on Saturday. And we'll watch these storm systems begin to pop up as we go into the late afternoon and early evening hours here across this area from central and west Tennessee down towards northwest Mississippi and Arkansas and Louisiana as well. And you can see the squall line begins to really take shape around midnight tomorrow night and 1 a.m. Really, this would be midnight Central Time. You can't see a squall line taking shape here, and you can see some supercell embedded with that as well. And that's where your greatest chance will be to get some tornadoes with this. There is that threat for some isolated tornadoes. While the bigger threat, or more widespread concern, will be damaging winds, certainly the potential is there for some isolated tornadoes to take place, especially where you see these more isolated discrete cells trying to set up within that squall line. And as we go into the late overnight hours and early Sunday, the squall line continues to push to the east and southeast. And by the time it makes its way towards central Alabama, farther eastward, it's going to run out of its favorable environment. So the severe weather threat will greatly be reduced by the time we get to early Sunday. But again, this is an overnight event, so that's what the concern is. You want to make sure you're aware of this. Make sure you have your weather radios handy. If not, there are some good apps on your phone you can use to stay ahead of the weather and get severe weather alerts sent straight to your phone. Since this is a nighttime event, that's definitely a good thing to have. And make sure you have a way to get alerts when the severe weather is rolling through your neck of the woods. Okay, I think that'll about wrap it up. But first off, I have a couple more things I want to show you. I mentioned we're going to have a very big temperature crash setting up as we go throughout the day on Saturday and to Sunday. So as we go throughout the day tomorrow, we have warmer air briefly surging northward across the Ohio Valley into the Great Lakes. Well, really not well into the Great Lakes, but also into the Mid-Atlantic. We have some warmer air starting to surge in briefly. Look at this tight temperature gradient setting up tomorrow night from the Ohio Valley into the mid-south here. You see temperatures ahead of the front in the 60s, behind the front in the 20s. And then you look up here in the upper Midwest, we have temperatures that will be over 20 degrees below zero. This is just barbarically cold air. Saturday night coming into the middle section of the country. And this cold air just continues to come down as we go into Sunday morning. So here we are by 7 a.m. Sunday, Eastern Time. Wow. Temperatures anywhere from 19 to 25 below zero across all of Minnesota and the Dakotas. And even northern Iowa, where we have that snowpack in place, just brutally cold temperatures. I mean, this is dangerous, dangerous stuff. Factor in winds, it'll feel much worse than this. This is very dangerous. You want to make sure you just really stay bunkered inside. And if you have to get out, even if it's just for a brief moment, you've got to have those layers on. Get those gloves on, get those hats on. You've got to protect yourself. And it's very, very cold stuff here. And then the cold air continues to make its way eastward throughout today's Sunday. And look what begins to happen Sunday night. We get the cold air. We have the snowpack in place here from northern Indiana, northern Illinois, through Wisconsin. Temperatures will fall way below zero. And in fact, I believe the Chicago Bears play the Green Bay Packers at Chicago on Sunday. And that could be one of the coldest NFL games on record. I mean, we are talking about some barbarically cold temperatures. But there is some good news. There is a line at the end of the tunnel. We have to get through Monday and Tuesday. But temperatures are going to really start moderating next week as we get a much more milder Pacific flow of air coming into the country. And look at these temperatures by the time we get to the later part of next week, getting towards Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Really, things are looking much, much better temperature-wise across the country, looking more seasonable and much more tolerable. And here's a good looking map. I had to end this update with some good news, right? Because I had so much bad news at the beginning, right? All this cold, nasty, wintry weather. But we have certainly a much different pattern setting up. As we go throughout Christmas time frame and through the end of the month of December, things are looking much warmer compared to where they've been. And even compared to average, it looks like we'll trend above normal across much of the eastern and south part of the country. So it looks like once we get past this blast early next week, we won't see any more big Arctic blast through the end of the month. Doesn't mean there won't be cold days, because there will be, but it's nice to see some milder temperatures to round out the month of December. This will be very nice. Well, I'm going to wrap it up for this update. Thank you all for watching.